Oh, it's a good day, said no one about a Monday. Till we showed up on your screens. Yo, bam, dropping the mic and dropping it again. Hello and welcome to Cricbuzz Live. I shouldn't have had a coffee just before the show. We, of course, are here in association with our fantasy partners, My 11 Circle. I'm Gaurav Kapur, and to calm me down, we have the wisdom from across different ends of the planet of Mr. Michael Vaughan and Mr. Joy Bhattacharjya. Michael, welcome. Good afternoon to you, of course, since you're in the UK. It is afternoon, and I hope it is not snowing this afternoon.
No, I can report that it snowed briefly yesterday, but it's now 12 degrees. It's cracking the flags. The sun's shining. I've played 9 holes of golf. I've been in the gym. We're allowed out. We're allowed out for the first time to go in the gyms. The pubs are open, but you're only allowed to drink outside. And a friend of mine's just sent me a lovely picture of our local pub, the beer garden. They're all sat there with their winter kind of ski jackets on, and it's jam-packed. Outside only.
I'd like a pint and a half pint of the virus as well, please. Just everybody, just because you can be outside, and this is for people watching all over the world, because we are, as you know, a truly global show. Just be careful. Even when you're outside, just make sure that you're fairly distant. And yes, go out, be social, but also be socially distant while you're doing that. I have Mr. Joy Bhattacharjya here from Gurgaon, where you have to tell people to not be social and only keep distance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're not going through a particularly good time in this thing. We have the largest religious festival in the world, and there are a few people who are meeting each other. Let us say that.
Just a few. Just a few meeting each other without masks. Hey, before we walk down a road which takes us down to some kind of lawsuit, we will stop. And we will, of course, talk about the game that is happening today. This is the 4th game of the tournament with the only 2 teams we haven't seen so far. It's Rajasthan, a new look because they've got a new captain, and Punjab, a new look because, well, they've got a new name. And they are playing today. Give you a little recap of what's happened in the 3 games so far. The first game, of course, the marquee game, it was Mumbai versus Bengaluru. No surprise there that it was Mumbai who lost their first game. They always lose their first game, so don't worry if you're a Mumbai fan. But a good start for Bangalore then. Then Delhi very convincingly beat Chennai in game number 2. That was in Mumbai. Action again was back in Chennai last night, where Kolkata beat Hyderabad. Much fancied team Hyderabad. But Kolkata were all over them like a rash. And today the action moves back to Mumbai in this sort of yo-yo caravan tournament. It moves back to Mumbai today, where Punjab are going to be playing Rajasthan. Michael, any surprises from the first 3 games for you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Calcutta yesterday, they were very good. I thought Owen Morgan marshalled his troops very nicely. But the Sunrisers didn't quite bring their A game, but they only lost by 10, so I don't think they'll be too concerned. I always look at a bench and see Kane Williamson there. I know it's hard to fit him in, but he's such a good player that somehow they're going to have to get him involved.
I keep telling you about Kane Williamson. You both just never agree with me. I'm telling you, they underutilized Kane Williamson. Today, they did come out with a statement, by the way. In all fairness, Trevor Bayliss came out with a statement saying that he's not fully fit and we want to give him some more time. And there was some of that yada, yada, yada that I heard a bit of, which comes post-event. It didn't come pre-event, it came post-event. But they criminally underutilized Kane Williamson.
Yeah, it's a modern trend, isn't it, of the modern game that no one's dropped. You know, everyone's got a niggle or have been rested. The word dropped and you've been left out is just not something that you hear these days. It's a dying art of telling someone that you're not quite good enough to be in the 11. They have to say that he's got a niggle or, he's got some kind of issue other than not being the best 1 to 11.
How did you do it?
Go on.
How did you do it? When you were captain, how did you tell a player they're not playing the next match?
You're not in the best 11 this week.
Oh, that's a good way. That's a very diplomatic way of putting it. You're not in the best. You never said, oh, you're rubbish.
No, I didn't say that. No, I'd always say to a player, look, you don't make my best 11 for this game. We may change it next week, but for this week, you're not in the best 11. I think you can get a little bit lost as a captain when you start to give too many excuses and too many smart and to the point. And unfortunately, by telling a player that with a bit of motivation to try and come back a week after, that's your job as a captain to tell the player.
Joy, for you, any surprise? I genuinely expected Michael to say harsher words than that, but I'm very impressed. He was very polite, very polite. But Joy, for you, anything that stood out, sort of good or bad, at the last 3 games?
No, I think very interesting. 2-3 things. One is that last over bowling, the kind of bowling that's in the last few years, death overs have not gone for that many. I always, when I look at death overs, I always look only at first innings, because see, second innings scores depend on how much you're chasing.
Yep.
So, second innings scores are not easy to set. But if you look at it, SRH went for 42 in 5. That's about 8. MI had a terrible death overs, 31 in 5. CSK got 52 and 5, which is about par for the course, about 10. But, the way death overs were being massacred last year, going for 12, 13, 14, they haven't gone for that much this year. Again, the middle overs have gone for much more. So that's one surprise. 3 matches is too early to call it.
Yeah.
Second thing, as I said, was, for whatever reason it is, the Sunrisers bowling attack in Chennai looked the flattest. They were supposed to be one of the best bowling teams. It looked absolutely flat. And they're going to play quite a few games in Chennai. So they're probably going to look at that and say that, if top bowlers our top bowlers go for so many runs, we might as well play Kane Williamson and play an Indian bowler and play just Rashid Khan among the internationals as a bowler.
Yeah. Oh, so you're saying Bairstow, Warner and Williamson.
Absolutely.
Interesting. And then Rashid Khan. Whoa, so that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, because your fifth bowler is not giving you that much in any case.
Yeah, all right. Good point there as well. But anyway, there's a while for Hyderabad to come back again. Let's see how they course correct. I think Trevor Bayliss has made it pretty clear that Kane Williamson will perhaps be seen in the orange jersey the next game that they play. Let's talk about today's game. Sanju Samson, his first game as captain. Michael, excited about that move? They've had a bit up and down with the captain, with Steve Smith, Ajinkya, mid-season changes. You're never happy when all of that is happening. And it's not like they've had. See, you could say that they've had a lot of captains, but then you've got Punjab on the other side who they're playing, right? Who've had, I think, one captain per half season. But there you go. There's Shane Warne, 55 games. And otherwise, they give a decent run. They're giving an average kind of 2-season run, that they gave to Smith and Watson, almost a 3-season run to Dravid, Ajinkya Rahane getting a 2-season run as well. You'd like to see them stick with Sanju Samson now, the way some of the other teams have stuck with their captains. Mainly, the 3 marquee names, Bangalore, Mumbai and Chennai.
Yeah, generally consistency works, but you only get a consistent captain when your team wins. The Rajasthan Royals over the last few years have been poor. They won it back in 2008 under Shane Warne's leadership. They haven't made the finals since. They've made a couple of qualifiers, I think, but they really have been disappointing. They've just not quite got their team playing as a team. You go back to 2008, why did they win? Because they played as a collective group. They didn't have the best players, but they played as a collective group. I think for the last 4 or 5 years that I've been watching them, they've played as individuals. And they haven't been able to get that collective playing together. Interestingly, I think there's a few things that might happen. I hear that Ben Stokes is going to open the batting. All the talk was that I believe over there that Josh Butler was going to join him. I believe from a whisper or two over here that Josh Butler is going to bat 4. Stokes is going to open. Wow. The captain himself, Sanju Samson, is going to keep. So Josh Butler will be in the outfield. So there's a few little changes there. Butler, for me, is one of the best T20 batsmen in the world. He opens for England and does a tremendous job, averages over 50, but he's also such a good player in the middle of the innings. And one of the areas of concern for Rajasthan over the last few years has been that middle order hitting, of really trying to be dominant in those middle overs. And Butler's pretty good wherever he bats, but that is the whisper on the street in Cheshire, where I live, is that Butler will bat 4 and Ben Stokes is going to open the batting.
Interesting. Is it? You've heard it from the Cheshire Cat himself. That may happen, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm happy about that, Joy, because if as a Rajasthan fan, I want to see Josh Butler, who is like guaranteed bona fide, a card-carrying game changer, right? Yes, of course, he bats at 4 and he can change the game as well. But when he's batting at 1 or 2, he can guarantee change the game because he's got the time.
Yeah, I to be honest with you, I was almost looking at it the other way around. That if you had someone to open, would I open with Butler and put Stokes back in the middle order and have him stabilize? Or Maybe perhaps they're thinking Butler is a more accomplished batsman, as in can pace his innings better, so Butler can more adjust to the conditions. Stokes can just go and give it a whack up front. That also means perhaps that they're sending in one Indian player, and the only player who seems to come to my head is Yashasvi Jaiswal to go and dash up front with them. Their big problem will, how do they use their Indian batsmen in that top 5? There's Sanju Samson, if he bats at 3, then who's opening and who's 4 and 5? I mean, with Butler, who are the other 2 middle order batsmen? 4, 5, 6.
Interesting. Well, they have about 20 overs to decide that because they're going to be bowling first. The one good thing that has gone Sanju's way is he's won his first toss and has decided, well, no surprise, it's the 4th toss and the 4th winner going to chase. So it's going to be, and I'm going to talk about his opposite number now, Michael, because KL Rahul last year, of course, is his famous statement that strike rates don't really matter in T20 cricket. I mean, we may also be taking it a little out of context, I guess, right now. But essentially what he was talking about was that his strike rate in last year was the poorest amongst all the others, even though he scored the highest number of runs, which means he's in good form, but he's staying there. And as a captain, when your opening batsman and your strike rate is 130, and with so many runs, which means he plays so many balls, Michael, this stat just tells you that he's perhaps not that confident in the entire batting lineup, and therefore is putting the brakes, because the numbers above tell you, empirical data tells you, that he is much better and much faster and capable than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can get away with one player batting in that fashion. If you've got 3 or 4 firecrackers around coming out and striking at 160 plus, I think you end up with a very big score. But I think you've hit the nail on the head that he was probably concerned about the batting lineup and he just wanted to hang in there and play in a conservative fashion. But if you want to win, and this is the key, if you want to go on and win the tournament, you have to play fearless cricket. You look at Owen Morgan last night, his team. They will play the England way. They'll be very, very risky. They will try and strike 180, 220 kind of all the time. Whatever the surface, they believe that that's the target that you've got to aim for. And I think it'll take them all, I don't think they'll win it, but I think it'll get them closer to winning it by having that kind of mindset. I think if Punjab come out and play in a sensible fashion and try and just get somewhere near a par score, I don't think they can win. So it's about risk. And I think in T20 cricket, you've got to evaluate where you risk and where you don't. And in KL Rahul, you're not asking him to up the tempo too much. Can he up it by 20% of a strike rate? He's got the game and he's got the gift to be able to do so. I don't think he'd be risking too much to get that strike rate up to 150.
Fair ask, isn't it, Joy?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to come on that because that's very exciting. That's exactly what's happening. One of the things that you watch Chennai was that Chennai was used to that kind of strike rate, what I call the last decade strike rate, where 120 to 130 is good enough to get you to 170, 180, which is a challenging total, which will win you most games. That template is now changing. Guys are batting faster, teams are scoring more runs. I'll give you a very simple example. In the last 5 years, the 10th rank, that means the top 10 batsmen, I was just looking at the top 10 run scores in the IPL. The top 10 were, 321 runs was the 10th ranked batsman in 2016. It became 388 in 2017, 442 in 2018, 445 in 2019, 454 in 2020. That means the number of runs being scored is more. Yes. Batsmen are getting more. Strike rates are rising because you have the same 20 overs to bat. So what's happening with any team that's playing a sort of the 10s to 20s kind of cricket in the speed in which they're batting, they're going to be falling behind because, it's just up by another 20, 25 runs. It's up by the strike rate's up by another 10, 15 points. And they have to make that adjustment.
It's that helium balloon. It's the helium balloon is just moving up with everyone. So you've got to move it up as well. It's quite interesting. There's been a lot of noise about that. There was a lot of noise about that even last season. And it looks like the Punjab management is listening. I think they've paid cognizance to that fact. There was this statement by WASIM JAFFER that had come out because I'm sure that question's been asked a lot. He said he batted a little timidly last season. Interesting choice of words. Probably batted deeper because he was not getting much after number 5 and Maxwell was not firing. Took that responsibility on himself to try and stay at the crease and get the job done. This time around, everyone will see an aggressive KL Rahul for sure. Thank you, WASIM JAFFER. You've just wasted our previous 5 minutes. Those were the observations. And well, there you go. I guess the team's been thinking about that. And I guess we don't need to rave and rant about wanting to see more of the genius of KL Rahul because it looks like that KL Rahul will be getting unleashed here. There is, of course, the curious case of Chris Gayle as well, right? Chris Gayle, as you know, the only time you have his name associated to a single is when it's music, when he's dropping. Right?
That's one of your best ones, Gaurav. That's one of your best.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Standard's pretty low, yeah? But anyway, thanks. Mine is not like the helium balloon move him up every season, right? My best 10 jokes don't get better. They just deflate and get worse. But otherwise, Mr. Six, as he is, put a lot of deliveries last year across the highway in Sharjah. The thing with him is, Michael, what they do, I think they've psychologically realized how they're going to play him. He's 41. You don't know if you're going to get all 14 games out of him. So just gauge the line a little bit. Like, just throw some meat around. Look how much fun everyone's having. Hey, look, people are hitting sixes. And then unleash him after game 5 or game 6.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm excited about today's game. And the pitch, that, as we saw in the game, Chennai versus Delhi at the 1K, the pitch was a belter. And there was the talk of, MS Dhoni after the game saying, oh, that 30 minutes difference starting at 7:30. Then the Duque minute just skidded on. It was such a good toss to have won. So I'm expecting big runs. I'm expecting loads of sixes. And the 188 that Chennai got and was chased down, well, with a cigar in the mouths from Cricbuzz and Shikhar Dhawan. I think when you start seeing games and seeing scores on the same venue just 2 or 3 days later, and Punjab will know that they've got to get a big number. So it's going to be exciting to see.
Is there just a small legal issue in what you said? I don't think Prithvi Shaw can buy a cigar in India, right? I don't think he can. I don't think he can legally buy. Maybe Shikhar got it from him. But of course, we're also looking forward to Nicholas Pooran, their Joy, because, I mean, we've seen some talents come out of the West Indies or the Caribbean of the last few years, boy. This boy is good.
Yeah, I mean, that's, what's fantastic is that, in one team, you have the past and the future of limited overs cricket in the West Indies. I mean, there's Chris Gayle and there's Nicholas Pooran. You cannot find two more exciting players representing two very different generations, and fabulous players, both of them. And that's the thing, that the Punjab top 4 is so good. It's so absolutely fantastic that, you feel that if you really look at it, those 4 should be winning 5 or 6 games for you. So if the rest of them can sort of get you over the line in 2-3 games, they're up to 8 games, 9 games. Because those 4 guys should be winning 5-6 games for you. That's just so good.
Yeah. Of course, Glenn Maxwell's gone to Bangalore, and the Punjab team may be looking at him in that first match when he hit a couple of sixes going, well, didn't even give us 1 the previous season. And you've given these guys 2 in the first game. Well, how is Punjab going to fill that hole in the middle? That's been a problem for them, that after 1-2-3-4, it was kind of dropping off a cliff. And they again have that same problem that sometimes we look at limited overs teams, right? In India, where you go, none of the batters are bowling and none of the bowlers are batting. And Michael, today's game, this modern game, and especially in the IPL, you're not going to win it like that. You can't. It can't be like a convent school social where the boys stand on one side and the girls stand on the other, and then you just sort of very scaredly come towards each other. It can't be like that anymore, right? That's not the modern game.
No, I mean, first and foremost, that you say the hole that Glenn Maxwell's left, there wasn't a hole there because he didn't produce. So there wasn't a great deal that came from Glenn Maxwell. So there's not a hole that needs filling.
No, they had. I said they had the hole even when he was there. That's what I meant. That was
true. I just think in T20 cricket you can't be predictable. I think the more options that a captain can have with the ball, the better, because then you can be unpredictable. And obviously with the bat in hand, you've just got to have different combinations, and you can't be predictable of sending out the same order all the time, so the opposition can produce their matchups. I think the teams that can just produce things slightly differently, and particularly those teams that haven't been used to winning, the likes of Punjab, Rajasthan, they've got to surprise the opposition with tactics and manoeuvres and maybe batting orders, bowling changes that just are slightly different. Maybe produce something that the opposition aren't expecting, because they're not the kind of teams, I don't think they're good enough on paper to just play normal cricket. I think they're going to have to do something out of the box. And that's collectively playing tremendous, having good combinations, fielding incredibly well. I always look at fielding in T20 cricket, and it gets put to a side. But, I think if you can make yourself into an incredible fielding side and outfield the opposition by 5 to 10 runs, that's an over. That's an over of the game, that you've got your way by just fielding better. And these are the kind of things that teams that haven't been used to performing well can control. You don't have to have the superstar players and the superstar. But you can say as a team, right, we're going to just outfield the opposition. That's an over our way because we've got 10 runs back into our favour. And they're the kind of things I look for in a Rajasthan team, a Punjab team. I don't expect any of these teams to be in the finals. I don't think they're good enough. I hope they surprise me because I like to be proven wrong. And, you know, you only look back to 2008 that it is possible. I know it was different times. It was old money, but it can be done in cricket. You know, the Sri Lankans in 1996 when they won the 50 over World Cup, they surprised the opposition. So that's what I look for in these teams that we're not expecting to win. Can they produce tactics and manoeuvres in a collective performance to try and surprise the opposing teams?
You're so right about Sri Lanka in 96, and they gave us, Kalu Vitharna and Jayasurya and just blew the opposition away with that surprise move. Let's just see if Punjab have any surprises for us today. We've got their 11 up front. They're going to be batting first, of course. Do they have any options? Well, there you go. Ismail Agarwal, KL Rahul. Chris Gayle is playing. That's a surprise. Nicholas Puran. Deepak Hooda. Shah Rukh Khan makes his debut. This is not the Kolkata owner. There's Jai Richardson, Murugan Ashwin, Riley Meredith, Mohammad Shami, and Arshdeep Singh, which means that Ravi Bishnoi, who played a lot of games for them, obviously last season, doesn't get a look in here. They're not gone with two spinners. They've gone with Murugan Ashwin, probably relying on Deepak Hooda to give them a few overs, maybe an over or two as well. But this is the Mumbai pitch, Joy. So really not a surprise that they've packed it with Meredith and Jai and Shami and Arshdeep.
Absolutely. They would have looked at this pitch and said, we really don't have that many all-rounders. Our fast bowlers have to be really good fast bowlers. And so what they've got is they've got three really quality fast bowlers. I mean, if you look at it, Jai Richardson, Meredith and Shami are as good as anyone in the business.
Yeah.
And they're looking at their remaining three. That's Murugan Ashwin, they're looking at Arshdeep, and they're looking at maybe Deepak Hooda and say, can we get 8 overs out of these three blokes? I mean, that's how they're looking at it. They've got three quality bowlers. They've got really 4 quality batsmen. Those 4 quality batsmen have to deliver for them. These 3 quality bowlers do their job and they're in business. But on a pitch like this, and they're probably right, on a pitch like the Wankhede, you're not going to, any spinner who doesn't hit his lengths immediately it's a very small ground. The ball's, it's very true. It has some bounce. So if you're a good fast bowler, you get something out of it. Average bowlers tend to get hit much worse. You know, there are some pitches that protect bowlers, you know, low and slow. So, you know, you can get away with it. This, you know, Wankhede just it strips you naked if you're a bowler and you're not top quality there.
Absolutely. Well, let's have a look at the Rajasthan squad. Who have they gone with? Well, their foreigners, interesting. Chris Morris was concerned about that. He is there. Of course, their most expensive purchase. Jos Butler, Manan Vora. Well, that's interesting. So no Yashasvi Jaiswal. Ben Stokes, Sanju Samson, the captain. Riyan Parag, promising last season. Looking forward to seeing him. Shivan Dubey, who's got drafted there. Chris Morris, Rahul Tewatia. Remember, this is Rahul Tewatia against Punjab. Bad memories for Punjab. Shreyas Gopal, Chetan Sakaria, and the Fizz, Mustafizur Rahman. It's quite a new look team, Michael. There's a couple of faces there that you hadn't expected to see. Interesting to get Manan Vora up front there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And also, it looks like on that paper, my Cheshire Cat, the Whisper, Butler on paper is opening the bat, and Ben Stokes is down. But we'll have to wait and see when they stroll out to bat. The Fizz is interesting. I think the Fizz is a tremendous T20 bowler when he's on form. You know, when he gets those cutters going across the right-handers. It's not an easy ground to start on, though. You know, this is the kind of venue you mentioned. Jai Richardson, Meredith, Shami. That could be a key part of today's game because their quality. And we saw Chris Wokes bowl his 3 overs, 2 for 18 on the same venue by pitching up and getting a little bit of movement. And all 3 of those bowlers. Meredith's a bit different. He likes to charge in and whack the pitch hard. But Jai Richardson and Shami are skillful bowlers that will get some movement. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. Chris Morris is the big signing, the player that's gone for more money than anybody before, $2.2 million. I think that was the check that he'll be getting.
I know it's 1.5 million pounds. So there you go.
Yeah, it's enough. It's enough, isn't it? Yeah. You can work with that. You can work with that.
That'll get you a few pints here.
Yeah, he'll be buying everyone pints in the beer garden today. For the whole of the area, he can afford that. But he's a good cricketer. His bowling is very good in T20 cricket. He can bowl quickly, he bowls aggressively. He's got those bounces that are quick. His batting's hit and miss. He basically goes out and tries to hit sixes. I think he can be a better batter. You look at Rajasthan, and I think that 5, 6, 7 has been a real, an area that they need to improve. And if he can be a bit more consistent and controlled and use his mind a little bit more, I just think that he goes out there when he bats and it's like, I've just got to try and hit a 6 every single ball.
Yeah.
I think he can be smarter with the batting hand. I think he looks a better player than his numbers suggest with the batting hand. With the ball in hand, that's why he's been paid all the money, because of his bowling, really.
All right. Well, you could agree or disagree with our analysis with the teams that have been picked, and you can put your money where your mouth is, because you can pick your own team. How do you do that? Well, go to my11circle.com, download the app, and pick the game today, which is Rajasthan and Punjab. Pick a mix of 11 players. And remember that it's this entire season of turning 1 rupee into 1 crore if you are smart. If you are smart. And to help you, because we know that, smartness is a collective effort. And we are also perceived. We've just got good branding and good PR and people who lie to the media for us. We're also considered quite smart. So we've got some smart picks for you, 3 of them to help you along your way. And these are our My 11 Circle smart picks. KL Rahul, Rahul Tewatia, Ben Stokes. These aren't just names we picked out of a hat. We will also give you reasons why we've picked them. So KL Rahul, let's just tell you why KL Rahul is one of our smart picks. We've got some stats here for you. These are his last 6 innings against Rajasthan. Something happens to him when he sees Rajasthan, and he wants to just hit every ball over the sand dune. And somehow he gets that done. And he gets big scores against them. That's what he's done in the last 3 seasons, because remember, they play twice in every season. So these are his last 6 innings. Besides 1 failure in Jaipur, 4, that's it. But otherwise, decent scores everywhere. So that's why we picked him, backing him to, of course, get a score. Let's talk about our next pick, who we have and why we have that pick. Who's our next pick? Come on, bring the stats up. There you go. Come on. Do we need to tell you? It is the innings 6 months ago that brought about a term. That was the inception of the term doing a Tewatia. When you're going full speed on a highway and you pull the handbrake and do a complete U-turn, a bit like Fast and the Furious or like Batman does with his Batmobile, something like that. You do a Tewatia, right? The universe was trying to do a Tewatia after 2020, what you were doing in 2021, but no, that's Tewatia once again, and we become 2020 again. So yeah, that's what it is. That was his innings where he hit all those 6. It's, I don't know. I mean, people forget things, right? But do you think Punjab will forget that when they see Tewatia? Do you think Tewatia will let them forget it today?
I can only tell you that Sheldon Cottrell still wakes up at night once in a while like that and says, what happened? No, okay, I'm back. I'm back in the West Indies. Tewatia is not hitting me for 5 sixes. It's not happening. Because that was just, it was a career ending. I mean, this man has come to the IPL, bowled well till then, got 8.5 crore rupees, is looking at a formidable future in the IPL, and that 1 over destroyed him. It just destroyed him.
Yeah. Ben Stokes. Well, let's have a look at him. Ben Stokes had a couple of great innings last season as well. And there is solid talk of him being opening batsman. If he is, and he does open like he did last time, he can do really well. And then, of course, he bowls as well. He got the wickets of Gale and Pooran the last time they played. He got that quick fire 50 at almost a 200 strike rate. He got a catch as well. So, we're backing him, because since he was the man of the match the last time these two teams played, which was, of course, in the UAE. Michael, now, I mean, I know you said it, but who do you prefer? Okay, so one by one questions. Definitely you don't like the idea of both Stokes and Buttler opening.
No, I don't think both will go in.
So which one?
Well, I think it's silly if they don't go with Josh Buttler, because he does that for his international team. He's had a huge amount of success. He averages over 50 at a strike rate over 150. Ben Stokes has just batted at 3 for England, the 50 overs. International, did really well. So in my sensible kind of looking at cricket, I'd go, well, surely you want Buttler to go in first and you put Ben Stokes at number 3. They're the positions that they're used to of late. The IPL is different though. Things are different. They rip up what's gone before and they kind of come up with new creative ideas. Sanju Samson, I'm sure, will have his say. Kumar Sangakkara, obviously in charge for the first time of the Rajasthan Royals. Trevor Penny is over there as well, coaching Rajasthan. But they'll try and come up with a solution. The one thing that they have to do is whatever they decide upon today, they've got to be consistent and stick with it for a few games. I just feel with Rajasthan, you go back to last year, it almost felt that if it didn't work on one game, they're going to rip it up and start again, and everything was swapping and changing. What players need, they need 2 or 3, 4 games to get used to a position and get used to an idea of where they're going to bat. So whatever they decide upon today, I personally would go with it for the first 4 games to give it a chance to work.
Sometimes, Joy, can this happen? That can sometimes teams get just too cute when it comes to just innovating and saying, "Oh, yes, you're a destroyer up front, but now I want you to play backstop, so to speak, and you're great at number 5, but let's throw you up." Yes, you need to innovate, and we were talking about the merit of surprises and destroying matchups. But there is a line, right? You can get too cute sometimes.
Yeah, and I think Michael makes this point at all, because what happens with a lot of coaches like that is they don't look at how it impacts the psyche of the players. Most players are not a Rahul Dravid that you say, okay, you open, you keep wickets for India, you do whatever is to be done, and Rahul Dravid will say, uncomplaining, okay, I'll bat whatever. Most cricketers are the kind of guys who will turn on that position and say, "No, what? I'm used to batting at 3. Why are they batting me at 6? Maybe they want to change my position. I think they're trying to give me a message, they're dropping me." Cricketers, like most sportsmen, are insecure because it's such a tough profession. It's such a fine line between playing and not playing. So you've got to make players secure. So if you're being cute and the player's psyche is being impacted because they're being moved around too much, that's a problem. I think what Michael's trying to say is that innovate. Tell them in the dressing room, we are not as good as these guys. This is the matchup. We've got Chetan Sakaria here, and we like the way he's going to bowl to Gale because he does it well. And Stokes, you're going to target Gale because you like bowling to left-handers. You're very good against them. And so you tell players why they're being dropped or not being dropped. They'll be okay. And you must have a very clear strategy. The moment you're just moving pieces for this without telling players, the players will become insecure. And the whole team morale collapses then.
Good point. That's a good point. Well, there you go. You've got to do things, and of course, but don't try to fix it if it's not broken, right? So just don't do that. Chris Morris, let's have a talk about him, because a lot of eyes will be on him after that auction. It was interesting. Bangalore wanted him back. They thought they'd let him go and get him back for a bargain. Well, boy, they miscalculated that, and how much by? Almost 5 crores, I think they miscalculated that by, and then lost him eventually to Rajasthan, who just had the deeper pockets, right? Rajasthan's no longer that Moneyball team. They're spending the big bucks when they want somebody, and they're really, really shelling those big bucks. This is what Chris Morris did. This is form leading up into the tournament. We've got some numbers of his form. This is in T20 since 2020. The Big Bash, 12 matches, 109 runs. The strike rate is pretty, and the 16 wickets obviously at a decent economy rate. In October, November, he had played 9 games, wasn't successful, just got 34 runs, but he did manage to get 11 wickets. And then in South Africa, when he played their T20 competition 2 months ago, again, not too many runs, about 5 wickets in 5 games. What do you make of that, Michael?
Well, those stats tell me he's a bowler that does very little with the bat. You can't call him an all-rounder that, 34 runs in last year's IPL after, 9 matches. It's not a great return with the bat in hand, but his bowling numbers are impressive. He's a wicket taker. I think he's valuable because he can bowl at every stage in the innings. He can be the aggressor at the top. He can bowl at the death, and he can also be that impact bowler in the middle. So you can see with his bowling why he's so valuable, but he can bat a lot better than those numbers suggest. And I just think he's just got to use his nous. He's got to use his brain a little bit also from what I see. I've not seen him for a while. I've not seen him win the game with the bat in hand.
Yep, true.
Out there where the team need 50, the rate's gone to 12. Go on, get your team over the line. I'm yet to see that from Chris Morris, getting 25, 30 not out of 15, 18 balls, keeping your control in your head, not just thinking that every ball's going to go for 6. It's impossible to do that. So if he can find his rhythm with the bat in hand, and interestingly, someone like having someone like Kumar Sangakkara around him, who is there with the greats of the game in terms of batting, it might just help him. Just talking about, and also the likes of Josh Butler, Ben Stokes, who have played all kinds of innings. I think they'll be looking at his talent with the bat in hand and going, come on, we need to get a bit more out of you with the bat, because your bowling's good. You're a very good fielder. You take some incredible catches. He's huge. He takes those high balls with his eyes shut. He's that good. But can they get something more out of him with the bat in hand? If they can, they have a serious cricketer that can get some runs out of him as well.
Joy, he's got the ability. It's about how, if somebody at Rajasthan can just unlock the potential in the mind.
Absolutely. And in fact, if you remember, his big breakout innings was when he was playing for Delhi, but it was a loss. He couldn't take them over the line. He got 90 odd, but he couldn't. He played a fantastic innings, but he just left it short at the end. So that's the thing. I think where Chris Morris batting is all in the mind. It's not about the talent he has. It's all in the mind. And I think they need him. This is a team that really needs him. Because I think last year there was in a situation, the team he was in, I think Bangalore could have afforded to say, why don't you just give us good stuff with the ball? Even if you don't give us that much with the bat, we're okay with it. Rajasthan simply does not have that luxury. They don't have that lineup to say that he'll bat. He has to be a good 7 for them, a good 8 for them, because their batting order isn't that strong.
Let's have a look at the Rajasthan batting order real quick and see where Morris fits in, because there's also Tewatia, right? And I know, there's one knock, and then, that just makes your name really big at that point in time. But there you go. The middle order, inexperience in both Riyan Parag and Shivam Dubey. Young, exciting talents, but of course inexperience. And then, of course, there's Chris Morris. So Chris Morris may just have to come out and bat at 6 in situations sometimes that aren't ideal. So they really want a lot of responsibility from him at that point in time. Okay, we've got time for the joy factor question. And this time, this is easy, medium, or...
Easy. For the guys who are going to answer it, it's very easy. People would think it's related to this, but perhaps it is. Okay, on which list is Rahul Tripathi in 3rd position, Manan Vora in 2nd place, and who would have been in 2nd place had this question been asked last year?
I don't even know what that means.
It means that who would have been, exactly, there's something there to think about. Something has changed in the last year where somebody who was in 2nd place no longer is there. That's all.
It's domestic cricket? It's probably something to do with domestic cricket.
You're very close.
Yeah? I don't know, man. I don't know. Their Aadhaar card numbers are like next to each other. I don't know. I don't even have a clue. If you guys know, #Cricbuzz Live, just send in your answers on Twitter. I'm very, very curious about this one. I won't even ask Michael if he has any idea, because the face he made when the question came up was just like, is that written in Latin? What is?
Yeah, I never mind answering the question. I have to work out what the question is first.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. We have no idea. We just want to tell you that the kind of people who are answering it are basically the kind of people who subscribe to Cricbuzz Plus. That's right. The ones who are consuming all the premium content from all the best minds in the world, whether it's written or video. This is, basically just no noise. This is where all the true fans gather. So I've signed up and subscribed, and you can do so yourself. Before we go, the last piece of business is our little guessing game. G's GG, Gaurav's guessing game. We started this back in, I think, 2018. Was it, Joy, that we started this? Stakes became pretty high. Things became pretty serious. We also had a couch at one point in time. Now, of course, we just do it for peer recognition, which means so much, as you know, with our diminished self-esteem. It's very important for us to have our peers think highly of us. 182.
That's the 4th day you've said that.
Yeah. So here's the thing. A broken watch is right twice a day.
Go on, Joy.
Okay, I'm going to go high because I think I'm going to go even 200.
200. Question is, are you high?
Let's go 182. So I go 192.
Excellent. So 182, 192, 202, 202. You just know 200.
Okay, 202.
200. Take it. No problem. Done. So, well, those are our guesses. We obviously, it's Mumbai. Come on. You know you're going to get lots of runs, right? Bowlers are just kind of machines with emotions here. Yeah, that's all they are. We're going to see you at the end of the 10th over with Cricbuzz Combox. Have a little update in Punjab's batting effort. Right now, it's time to say thank you to both Joy and Michael. We're here with you, of course, through the entire game. And I'm Gaurav Kapur. You were watching Cricbuzz Live in association with our fantasy partners, My 11 Circle.